And welcome, everyone, to BG5 Live. It's the beginning of summer, although some places it doesn't feel so warm. So this is episode 26. This is the last of our Penta skills. So we're going to be looking at the 1/8, and we have Vanessa and Sarah with me. Hello, Vanessa. How are you?
I'm good. Excited to be here.
We have Sarah. Sarah, welcome
Hi,
back.
everyone. Hi,
Nice to have you.
everyone.
Vanessa, go ahead, do your thing.
Welcome to BG5 Live, the show for BG5 and human design professionals, students, and enthusiasts who want a deeper understanding on how to apply human design to business so that they can thrive in their careers and help their clients in doing the same.
Thank you. Always good to hear that. So, last one, sales and public relations. Think of it as marketing. So this is the last of the upper Penta skills. It forms that sort of that vortex, goes from the 14 to the 2, right up to the 1 and 8. And our taglines for the 1, which is moves from, I just lost it. Creative expression, and it morphs into implementation. So this is the ability to get your product or service out the door into the hands of customers. You can think of it as sales. And public relations that's the 8, the ability to attract the necessary attention, getting noticed through the presentation of the business. We can also think of this as the brand. So we'll start out with the 1, creative self-expression and implementation. Vanessa, I'm going to turn this over to you.
All right. So when somebody has this in their personal design, which Mike actually has, Sarah also has it. She, however, has the entire strength. Michael has the trait in his design. It's creative self-expression. And this is very much about having a deep need to express yourself in unique and creative ways. This is often referred to as the artist, and someone who has really a creative flair, and they are meant to find their own unique way of expressing themselves, which in itself can be an art form. So this can be writing, working with people, it's individual energy. There is that ability to be very creative and enjoy uniqueness. And it's about really simply doing your own thing. And by doing that, you can attract the attention of others and can impact how others do their own things. So again, this is individual energy. This is mutative. Your creativity can empower others through your unique expression. And people with this energy often like working alone, and that oftentimes works best for them. Now, when we take this into a small group or a penta, this transforms into the skill of implementation, which is the ability to get the product or service out of the door and into the hands of customers. So this is sales, obviously a very important part in any business team. And implementation is the full capacity and vision put into creative action so that one can be visible, seen, and experience the potential. So in a group, this is the ability to get things out the door, to sell products, to sell services, and to take the vision and find creative ways to implement it out in the world. So again, in a small group, in a penta, this skill is about implementing a marketing or sales strategy or process. It's about selling products or services, making sure the product or service is created and ready to be sold and delivered. It's getting new customers and it's getting things out of the door. Obviously, this is a very, very important skill to have in any penta, any organization where you actually want to sell what you have to your customers. And then do we want to talk about it, Mike? Want to share your experience?
Yeah. So I have the 1 and the 2 in my design. So sometimes I can't distinguish between the 2 and the 1. So vision is something that's really strong with me. We talked about this in the show we did on the 14 too. But the 1, here's something I understand over a long period of time is people with a lot of individuality in their design will often start out studying a system, some base of knowledge, anything that you're really drawn to. And then you kind of learn how other people do it, and then slowly you morph it into your own way. So I noticed that a lot where I'll take something that I learned and then it just becomes almost a necessity for me to change it, to morph it into something that feels more creative, more just who I am. So this doing your own thing is it's also taking something that you know and then making your own thing. That's just it's how it has to work, I think, for individuals. Sarah, what about you? Do you notice that when you're studying something or working with something that you take it and kind of craft it into something that really works for you?
Yeah, I think you said it so perfectly, to be honest. Like I can just feel my whole body lighting up because I'm like, I just completely resonate with everything you just said. Um, like so I have the strength of efficiency in my design. So like I'm not the type of person who's gonna like create something from scratch, right? I really will take and see and experience what other people are doing, and then I can't help but put my own flavor on it, and I let people know that. And I would say in a group setting, if that's not accepted, I don't work well in that group. Like it has to be just like a given that I am a creative individual. I am going to put my own flavor on it, my own spin, my own creativity, and that's either celebrated or rejected. And so in those spaces where it's rejected, it's probably not the space for me, because I also have quality 4 um, with trait 1. And so the aloneness is even more so. Aloneness as the medium for creativity. And it doesn't mean that I can't work in a group. I just need to be able to have that freedom to be creative.
Do you think it has something to do with the individuality is also very acoustic? So a lot of times for myself, I like particular music, sometimes soft, not really nothing that sort of takes away from the creative process, but just sort of facilitates it without it being too loud. And also being in groups, not only can it be acoustically loud or people talking over one another, but it's just there's a lot of energy flowing too. Do you notice that at all?
Yeah, I do. And I think part of it too is like if there's too much talking, and like then it can almost get you more in the mind more than in the flow of just doing and creating. Um because typically when I start, creativity is so broad, right? Like we could be dancing, painting, right? That's like we can all conceptualize creativity. But creating can also be through writing, creating systems. So it can show up in a lot of ways. And where I was going with this is that sometimes when I start something, I don't exactly know where I'm going to end up. So if there's too much distraction around me, uh that's why I like to, when I'm really working, I like to work alone so I don't have that distraction and I can just let it flow. When there's distraction, like you hear your dog barking, then you're thinking about your dog or who's at the door, and then it kind of takes away from that creative moment. And there are certain types of music that I do like to listen to in the background and that's how I know I'm in a really good creative mood, is that I turn some music on.
Yeah. I like the wording, the phrasing that you were using, that creativity can show up in any medium.
Yeah.
I've talked to different artists about it, and then they're kind of surprised that creativity can be in any endeavor, any art form, any sort of system, and you can use it in that really unique way. It's
Yeah.
also something a friend told me way back is there's I think it's in trait 3 ordering, difficulty at the beginning. And so individuals can find a little challenge getting into that creative process. And I also like what you said, where we'll start it and we don't actually always know where we're going to end up with that creative process.
Mhm. And I think you were spot on by with because I as well experience, I have the 2 and the 1, and they can kind of blend into one another.
Yeah. The other thing too is I think one of the reasons that people with the 1-8, or just pretty much any individual strength is that it's also mutative, meaning that you take something that's already existing, or you're taking something from scratch, but as you build it, it has the ability to not only empower people, but change how they see things, how they see the world, how they see an existing body of knowledge. So individuals with that kind of mutative capacity bring change into the world, and not everyone's comfortable with that.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's one of the toughest parts, right? Is because we live in a society where you want to fit in
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
just don't sometimes. But I will say, me doing my own thing, it does attract attention. It attracts the right people.
Mhm.
Um, but it's like this, you have to have this trust in yourself to walk that path and be vulnerable and put yourself out there, not knowing if you're ever going to attract anyone. But I will say it happens. You do.
Yeah,
And then that affirmation, I think, helps you continue. So, but it can be
yeah.
a little scary at first.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We never know who's going to show up in our fractal or our tribe people. Hmm.
Yeah. I
But I
have a
think
quick
it's
story I want to share about it. So I used to facilitate leadership conferences, which sounds so crazy to me now. But like there would be like 300 high school freshmen in a gym, and I'd work with 5 other facilitators, and we'd have like these full on conferences. And
Wow.
yeah, so when I first did it, I was hired last minute through a connection, and we had a retreat and a training, and I was seen as kind of like the dud of the group. Like, who is this girl? She has no sparkle. The kids aren't going to like her. She's not funny, like all the things. And I felt it too. I felt very awkward in the group. But when it came down to the leadership conference, and I was doing my thing and I was having fun and I was loving it, we'd have roll call and there would be 6 teams, right? Maybe like 50 students. I was the only person every time, even on the first try, they got all the students to stand and cheer and celebrate. And we were about 3 or 4 conferences in, we would travel, and someone said, Sarah, how the heck do you get everyone to cheer every single time? Tell me what it is. And I really didn't know. I just put my energy into it and I loved it. And people saw me doing my thing and they said, "Hey, I'm going to do it too." Every time. And so it's really amazing. And that for some people can be very embarrassing. And yes, like it's very silly being around ninth grade freshmen in high school. But I think that just that was something special in me that I had and I was able to share with the group. So looking back, that's a good story or example that I can see where doing your own thing will attract people.
That's a great story. Getting ninth graders
Oh yeah.
up and
Stinky.
active in front of everyone else, there's some special gift there. You should hone that.
Oh yeah.
A little magic dust.
Yeah, that takes some talent, I guess.
Yeah, having worked with that age group, I know it well.
I know it's an interesting age group. It's fun though.
Hey, Vanessa, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, and I just want to say this also speaks so much to when you are, in alignment with your personal interaction style and following your decision-making strategy, or in human design terms, following your strategy and authority. And, in the case of a builder or express builder, like really loving what you do and doing what you love and just really being in that alignment, that sense of satisfaction radiates out and it brings everybody else into it as well. And I think that story is such a great example of bringing other people into it when you really are expressing your unique authentic self in that way. And that is something that I do recognize in the other 1/8s that I have in my life, that they also really are able to just be, like unique and individual and different, and they don't really care about some judgments that might be coming in or whatever, and it's infectious. So it's a great
Mhm.
story.
Yeah, and then
Infectious.
it's interesting how it shows up in a group with sales. And I'll just touch on that for a second, because when I first heard sales, I think I'm not a salesperson, right? Like that's not me. But I think the way that I sell is through my experience, through my authenticity. And it's not so much, I'm not a transactional person. So it's the word sales feels so transactional. It's more like, how can I help you? Like it's out of service, out of love, out of caring for a community. And I think people trust that. And that's how I sell, is through building that trust.
Sounds authentic.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just not transactional.
That's good.
You don't see that much tribal.
Yeah, you have almost no tribal in your design.
Yeah, three trait, four.
Hmm, yeah. All right, moving on to the 8. Vanessa, trait 8, implementation.
Yeah, so implementation, which in the individual design is contribution, and then when you're in a small group or in a penta, it transforms into public relations. And from an individual perspective, so I actually have this one in my design, contribution. This is about a gift for drawing other people's attention to a product, service, business, or project, and the ability to empower others by being able to promote their work. And this is individual energy. This is about empowerment in the thematic. The talent lies in being able to offer a unique contribution to the world. You do need to be recognized for your unique contribution. So this is projected energy. And in that way, you have a better chance of being well received. So it's not something you want to force onto others. And you have the talent of being able to draw people's attention to someone else's product or service. You're the proverbial agent. And remember the one we were talking about, the artist. Here we are the proverbial agent to the artist who can promote the work of an artist. You're drawn towards what is novel and unique. And then once we bring this into a penta, this is public relations. And the penta or the group has an ability to attract the necessary attention. It's about being noticed. And the skill is about contributing your own creative effort to the group goals. The talent lies in promoting the group's work. Again, you do need to be recognized for your ability to help the group make a good impression. This is projected energy. And it's about getting noticed, attracting attention to the group's products, the services, or the business. And as a manager, this is the ability to sell your staff on the company vision and build the team. Now, the upper Penta skills can be managerial, so that comes up here, and you have a real gift for being able to step forward and demonstrate the model, and you will be respected for this if you're using it correctly.
So Vanessa, can I do a reflection after
Yes,
having
please.
working with you and knowing you? One of the things that I notice with your 8 is you don't try to do any of this. All the things that you just mentioned, the contribution, essentially the public relations marketing. What always convinces me about things that you talk about is your enthusiasm. So for everyone else listening, Vanessa, she's either like, it can be a little bit black and white with Vanessa. She either like, yeah, whatever, or she's crazy excited, like turning it up to 11, and she's just whoosh. There's been a lot of times when she's like, I'm doing this new thing, you want to join me? Like, I don't have a strong response, but what I always notice is I'm pulled towards it, regardless if I sign up or not, because you are so amazingly excited about things. And so I think and it kind of goes along with what Sarah was talking about, when you take on something, you also seem to embody it. You feel empowered by it. And another thing that, again, goes along with this, the thematic, is your empowerment also empowers other people. So that's my that's my noticing for you. How do you experience it
Well,
yourself?
it's interesting because I feel, from a holistic perspective, I have 4 strengths coming off my energy resource. So I respond to a lot of things. And when I am excited and I have the energy for something, I am excited and I have the energy for something. I also have trait 16, and I have 8 fifth qualities, including in my public role. So I think from a holistic perspective, there's a lot that goes into this. And with the 8 specifically, it's so interesting because it talks about being able to draw attention to other people's products or services. This is something that I obviously naturally do a lot. When I get excited about something, and this can be as little as like if I go into a store and I have really excellent service, I will immediately get on Facebook and go into, we have a customer service group on our little island nation here, and I will share all about it and I will give them a 5-star review. And like I always call out when I get good service or a good product. And even in my own business, like part of what I do is call attention to somebody else's product that I absolutely love and I'm obsessed with, through affiliate marketing, but not just because I'm also going to get paid when somebody buys this product, but because I love this product and I couldn't imagine running my business without it. So I do see it show up in a lot of different ways. I do this for a lot of different businesses. Yeah, when I'm excited about something, I will absolutely attract attention to it.
That's amazing. I didn't know that. You never shared that before. That's really interesting. Hmm. Okay, so before we bump over to Sarah, we haven't done this before, Vanessa, but I thought we would do it as the last one, is looking at the whole strength, primarily because we have Sarah with us. So we're going to bump down, look at the whole strength through the lens of the Penta. I can take this one if you want.
Sure.
So 1.8, expression. So if you don't invest your energy in selling your product, you will eventually go broke. So you can hear the energy that we're talking about. So I have the 1, Vanessa has the 8, but Sarah has the whole thing. You can't manufacture the energy. So that's something that I think needs to be said too. Either, like Vanessa was saying, you either having this really strong response to something or you don't. And trying to fake it is just a setup for failure. So the 1.8, this is where the vast majority of the business's resources go. You have to sell your product or service to survive as a business. That's the bottom line, or the top line in some cases. So the 1.8 is all about capturing the public's attention, getting noticed. It's about being seen through either advertising, demonstrations, word of mouth, reputation. This is about also selling, not only getting the attention, but actually having people buy it from you. The fact is, if you don't sell it, no one's going to buy it. So the Penta, so now we're talking in terms of working within a team or a business. The Penta is a natural show off. The idea, the concept, like, look at me, look at me. So Ra talked about you have to spend money to make money. This is the law of the Penta. So it can take money to get your product noticed, to be seen by others. Pentas also love to shop. Spend money and it will make money for you. If you don't invest in your business, it can stagnate. And this is all about the now. So this is not in the past or the future. It's very much here. We have this business, we have this product, we have this service, we want to get it out the door. So being able to sell your products means you keep the doors open, keep people employed in your business, you can pay your bills, and you can do all the necessary maintenance to keep everything going. So it's the necessary investment in the present day-to-day in marketing. This is about investing in your presentation, being really cognizant of how are we seen or perceived in the outside world. So we do this through marketing and sales and advertising. So Sarah, having you in this show today, I feel like it's really such a boon for us in the sense that you play this role for the Institute. So we'd love to hear like how you see this within your role within the Institute, which is a lot of the things we've been talking about here, I hear you talking about as your job description. So
I know,
any
I think you
reflections?
just read through my job description.
I know, right?
Yeah, if you could just go to the first slide that you shared. Yeah, so the first bullet point, if you don't invest your energy in selling your product, you will eventually go broke. My first thought when you read that was like, that's not even an option. Like, I feel like with someone with the 1.8 on your team, if they're invested, that's just, you're not going to go broke. They're not going to let it happen. It's just not in their DNA. Like, they will always find a way, you know, to keep things moving, keep you financially stable, bring creative ideas to the table. And they're always like for me, I'm always like thinking down the road. And maybe that's part of that I have the two, but it's like I can really see the big picture. And that's just for me, like not an option. So I don't know if other people with the 1-8 feel that way. I'd be curious to know how you feel. Um, and if you want to go to the next slide. Well, and I would also say that like for me, not more, I'm more like a non-traditional marketing. Like I'm trying to learn about Facebook ads and social media and, you know, active campaign to, you know, do email nurture sequences. And that's all great. And that works for a lot of people. But I think we already discussed previously that I take what other people are doing and I do it my own way. What I think really helps a business is if you have a great reputation, things are visually appealing, you're investing in the business, people are happy, that's your best marketing. And that's never going to go outdated. People want to feel good about where they're spending their money these days. And there's so many places where people can spend their money. So having a solid reputation, word of mouth, relationships with your customers, referrals, you know, that's where I like to focus my time and energy for the business. I think that's going to be a sustainable route for a business. That feels good to me. It feels like a good place to invest time and energy. And that could look different for many people, right? You know, keeping the doors open, keeping people employed, paying the bills, the day-to-day maintenance. That's all stuff I do. No one taught me how to do that. I didn't go to school for it. I just know how to do it for some reason. You know, it's just, you know, it's in my body. I know how to do it. So that's really interesting. I've always used the quote, you need to spend money to make money. So it's interesting that I've always said that and believed in that as a business philosophy. And yet that's a keynote for having the 1-8 expressed in a group. So it's interesting as you continue your human design journey and you start to hear things that you always did or you always said, and then see it translate into what you're learning in the courses and the different keynotes and what's in your design. I just find it fascinating. And then there's also the deeper layers that we don't know about ourselves that are unconscious. For example, like if I just look at the 8, I think, you know, I'd be like, is that me? But it's unconscious. But then I see how people call it out of me in a group. So, so that's really interesting. Yeah.
Vanessa and I,
Do you have any like specific questions?
well, I thought it was interesting in the sense that Vanessa and I had Tuck on our last show, and Tuck has the 1333, which is about accounting and the past. And she said even before she studied design or knew anything about pentas, she would get invited to do accounting jobs. She didn't have the training. So it's very similar to you finding yourself doing these jobs naturally using the language that, you know, Ra talked about 20 years ago. And then suddenly, like, you just find yourself doing it. So it,
Yeah. We're attracted to it. And I will say I work really well. We talked about this before the show. I worked really well with people who also have the 1-8. Because like
mm,
when you can, and that'd be interesting to experiment like as a real study with the Penta. I worked in a Penta with someone who had almost the same design as me. And the having two people with the 1-8 and the 214, the things that we did in such a short amount of time in 2 years was phenomenal. And I think it's like we had that same mentality, right? We had those same phrases that we were using that were kind of like our mantra, what we live by. And so it's interesting, like who you attract and then working with them. That feels pretty magical. So I don't know if anyone else has experienced that, but working in a penta with someone with the same strengths could be pretty fun.
Hmm.
Pretty productive.
So
Yeah, so go
I
ahead,
want to draw
Vanessa.
attention to something that you said about marketing that also really brings into perspective the fact that we are currently in the middle of the process of moving into a new global cycle. And that is very significant for business because the stuff that used to work, the stuff like, well, you have to do it this way, you have to do these nurture sequences, you have to use this language, and you have to post this many times on social media, you have to do this and this and this, like that used to work. It is not going to be working anymore if that energy isn't behind it, if that alignment isn't behind it, and you get to do it like in your own unique way. And that is what's actually going to attract the right people to you. It's going to attract your fractal. The people that actually need what you have to offer are going to find you. And it's like that old stuff isn't going to work anymore.
Yeah.
So for anybody who is interested in really learning more about how this applies to your unique design in business, in your career, and also how to help other people with it, this is my 8 quality 5 in action. You should definitely check out the BG5 Business Institute and check out the foundational courses. In those alone, you're going to learn so much about this change that is coming, how to use it in your own design, and then as you go through the certification, how to help other people with it. Yeah, so if that's something that lights you up, you definitely want to check out the BG5 Business Institute.
Yeah. I always say that lately, that what has sustained us won't sustain us in the future. It's different. People are changing. They have different needs. I feel in touch with what people want and what they need, and I can see how to get us there. I think, right, always the challenge with an express builder is like, we want it right now, like, let's go, let's go. And so it's like waiting for the right timing, it's hard to have a vision and you can see where things can go, but being patient and waiting for the right time and being resourceful, being smart with your finances, it's like a delicate dance. Yeah, but yeah, that's all I guess I have to say about that. Yeah. I have a question though, because I'm curious. And especially for Mike in particular, but also Vanessa, is how do you feel working with people with the 1-8 since you only have the 1 or the 8? Like, how is that compromise for you, especially when it comes to creativity?
That's a great question. I don't have too many in my life who are people I work with in person. It's the effect is less for me. I'll speak from that perspective. So a 214, so you're 214, Vanessa's a 214. I don't feel any competition. I don't feel overshadowed by either one of you. And with you with the 1-8, I don't feel compromised in that way either. So I think in person it's going to be more challenging. I'm a
Yeah.
little in awe of, for Vanessa and both you, Sarah, too, is your 214 is it has the vision with the capacity built in. Totally jealous about that. And I have so many ideas with my 1 that, and then marketing it. So I think there's more envy or jealousy with, lacking the 14, lacking the 2 that you two both have in your own way. So um, I think that's one of the reasons I love working with you is because you, in some ways, when we're online, I feel like it's complimenting me more than compromising me.
Well, that's nice. What about you?
Otherwise, you two would be a force of nature that would just kind of roll over me.
Oh, if we worked like in a department together in person, the 3 of us, you would not like that, I don't think.
I would be hiding in some other office down the hall.
And I'll tell you, so the Penta of 3 that I worked in, two of us were so similar, like this is where we're going, this is what we're doing. The third person couldn't keep up, and he
Yeah.
was just not happy, you know.
Yeah.
It was, we just overpowered.
I think it needs a measure of surrender. Like, okay, I'm just gonna go with your visions and just kind of follow along. Yeah. So
So
anything,
for me, it's hard to answer that because I am pretty much a solopreneur.
Yeah.
I don't know designs of people that I've worked with in the past. I generally always, in the past, I've always done really well at work in both small and large organizations. And by looking at my body graph, you can probably see why I have both small and large group strengths in my design. My partner has the 1/8. So he compromises me there, and he has a 14 as his conscious core essence, but not the 2. So I compromise him there. However, I feel like that whole stream actually works pretty harmoniously together for the most part, and just being aware of, we have a lot of compromise actually, because he also compromises me in the 59/6, and I compromise him. Obviously, it's easy for me to compromise people because I have a lot of strengths. I compromise him in the 1762 and the 3740 and the 2750, like it's, but I think having that awareness and that understanding, and when you're working with people that are very self-aware or interacting with people that are very self-aware, it's, things still come up obviously, but it's there's much less friction around it. But when it comes to like a working environment, I haven't really been in teams in like decades, so it's really hard to say.
yeah, I'm very similar. I can't remember the last team I worked on in person and for any length of time. I'm very much solo too. So working in the institute really suits me actually, because I get to be creative and do my own thing, and also I don't work in those penta dynamics.
Mm.
It's really hard.
See, it's opposite for me. Well, I'm, you know, there's some like duality, right? Because I need to work alone and I appreciate my space working online and being at the institute, right? But there's a part of me that just craves and longs to be in person, to work with a team in person, work with a large organization in person. And so yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that unfolds, because I can't see myself completely online for the rest of my career. And I've, thought, well, what if we start doing courses in person? What if we have a, BG5 national center where people can come in person and learn about BG5? How incredible would that be? So, we'll see how that unfolds. And then of course, working with clients in person, I think that would be my preference.
I think that speaks a lot to the 4 in your public role, which is interesting because Mike also has the 4 on the unconscious side in his public role. And you guys both have the independent assimilation. Whereas I definitely, with my collaborative assimilation, but no 4 in my public role, definitely more aligned with like Michael. Like I'm good, like every now and then I do like to be in person with people, but I could never seem like I could never commit to, wait, you should never say never, but
Yeah.
the odds of me like committing to doing something that requires in person is extremely unlikely.
Yeah. But see, like that, I couldn't do in person every day.
Yeah.
A hybrid model, the flexibility to go with my mood, too, can help. But, there's also opportunities where I am in a group, like with my family, we're a Penta. I'm a part of our community, and I go out and I do community events where there's, large groups. And so there's other spaces where you can still feel that. Um, and so yeah, it's interesting how group dynamics play out for each individual.
Interesting you talked about doing in-person events. It's actually something I've been thinking about it, but I haven't got a chance to bring it up. I
It's
absolutely
gonna
think
happen. I can feel it.
yes.
One day, I swear it has to happen one day. I just feel like it will.
I've literally was facilitating groups, in person for probably 25 years. And so
Yeah.
it's something that I really vibe on. I love it, to be honest.
Well, and
I
it's
get to meet,
interesting because you have that background in facilitation, so do I, so does Veronica. And so I think it's just a little bit in our nature to want to go back to that in some way.
oh yeah. Oh yeah, man. I'm all over it. All over it. So I think we're winding up. Any last things, Vanessa, Sarah?
No?
All right, so in 2 weeks, which is the 24th of June, that'll be our last show before the summer. So Vanessa and I and Sarah, we're going to take a hiatus for July and August. We'll be back in September. Don't miss us too much. So we don't actually know what we're doing yet, but I have a little bit of an idea, Vanessa. We can talk about it. So we'll be back in 2 weeks. Looking forward to seeing you before the summer break. And thank you, everyone, and bye for now.